Okay, if you've been in the metaverse space for a little while, you may well remember Zed Run, the digital horse racing game that was really very ahead of its time and massively successful. You could buy your own horse, which was an NFT, and then race it on the track for free or to win money. You could even breed your own horse with others to create generations of new horses, all with different bloodlines and the digital DNA of their parents. To date, over 3.5 million races have been run and $60 million paid out. Well, the co-founder of Zed Run is the ace Chris Ebeling, who's been on the show before and is back to tell us about what he's working on next at a new company, Behaviol. They are building out the kind of Marvel universe, or Fortnite of Sport, if you like. As you'll hear in this episode, with all the advancement in AI, we're getting to this point where we can both collect and analyze data from real sports people, how they move, how they perform and stuff like that, and then recreate them in the digital world, and then also create entirely new digital athletes that can continue to learn, train and perform in all new digital sports leagues. The team are starting with cricket, which is the second biggest sport on the planet, and that's what we dive into in this episode. We also cover some of the latest news, Elon versus Zuck, of course, the guy who hacked the Tesla and found Elon Mode, and the Grammys announcing their new rules of whether AI is allowed in entries. As always, do your own research, classic, but let's get into it and welcome Chris Ebeling.
Hey, thanks for having me. Huge fan of your show. Like I mentioned to you pre-show, listen to it when I go to the gym. Love getting my weekly, daily dosage of what's going on in the crazy tech space, and love the work that you do. So appreciate being here.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate that as well. Cheers for checking it out as always. And okay, loads of stuff going on with you. So let's dive into what you're up to at the moment. But maybe you could kind of take people back if they aren't fully aware. A lot of people will have heard of Zed Run. You were very involved with that. It's a crazy time. It's still ongoing. I still have my horse, which I take to the track pretty regularly. So maybe you could kind of just give people a bit of context before we dive into what's new.
Yeah, so I mean, Zed Run is one of the pioneering Web3 games, where you can own, race, breed, sell, win on the blockchain. So we started back in 2018, 2019, rode the wave. As we all know, there is a wave with new technologies, and we're still riding it. Been doing that for 4 years now, 5 years. Development's ongoing. We're really working and focused on creating a really strong economy within the game. It's going through a lot of iterations, but yeah, the team is still powering on strong. My work there, I mean, I'm a co-founder now. I was the creative director and in charge of the creatives, but in the last couple of years, we're seeing that the creatives are in a great space, and I was itching to start building again, as you say. So, with the blessing of my co-founders, I was able to release myself from the operation side. I don't sit in the operation. I'll sit on the operation. I'm still checking in. I'm still making sure that everybody's good, happy, and of course, evangelizing our baby. But I've recently gone on the market and then been introduced to a new project, which is called Behaviol, where we are actually, fusing now Web3 technologies and artificial intelligence to create even more interactive and engaging entertainment products with the focus on digital sports. So yeah, super exciting. I mean, it's what a time to be alive again. Like when I listen to your podcast, that's the stuff we talk about. That's the stuff we love. What can we do with new technologies? How can we, reinvent what's new and come up with unique, innovative ideas? And, my background being in entertainment, it's always going to be entertainment focused. Like, what can we give back to users? How can we make fun, compelling projects? And then, with the power of AI, how can we use that to make new projects and new entertainment platforms? But then on top of that, I mean, I'm very bullish on Web3 and the digital asset ownership space. How can we now give back to the users who support these projects? So yeah, that's pretty much where we're at.
That's cool. Yeah, no, it's good to hear that. And because Zed Run was so ahead of its time as well, like we're still talking and working out the Web3 gaming thing. But the whole context of this conversation with what you're working on now as well is sort of the future of competitive gaming and sports online, making that kind of accessible, fun for everyone, but also this whole sort of combination of kind of fantasy sports and then AI being able to develop these players and stuff like that. So maybe you could just give us the rundown of what you're working on now, why it's kind of interesting and cool for anyone. I remember growing up being obsessed with Football Manager in the UK, where I was like managing my own football teams here. I'm sure wherever you're listening from, there was a similar game. So yeah, give us the context of what you're working on now.
I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. Like what we're looking at is future athletes using AI, and really what we're trying to do is be the Marvel of sports. So if you know the Marvel universe, you know how big and extensive that is, how emotionally captivating that is. But now we're creating this AI-driven digital athlete platform, which is going to serve as a bridge between traditional sports and the world of gaming. So using like utilizing really enhanced artificial intelligence algorithms, you can now create virtual avatars, or the future of athletes, as we call it. We can capture real world skills, unique skills and abilities and playing styles, and put them into these digital clones, as we call it. And then you as a user, you will own these clones, right? Thanks to Web3, you'll own these avatars, these digital athletes of the future, and be able to train them and put them in a position to win. So there's going to be different tiered releases in our game. Like first off, it's going to be gamified viewing tier, which is really just a test and to show the world, hey, these are actually 2 trained avatars that are actually learning while they're playing. So we have this advanced reinforcement learning algorithm tied into it. We have a lot of different AI models tied in. And then on top of that, now we're ready to kind of layer sports on top of it. We are starting with cricket. And cricket, because the evolution of cricket has been actually really exciting, from 5-day test match to 1 day to 2020 now, and now we're trying to give the users an arcade version, which is like a 3 to 4 minute match. It's one-on-one matches where you're going to be versing your avatar versus now. So talking about Elon and Zuck, why not put them in the cricket game and have them duel each other out? Like that's possible, right? Because we're able to record footage and we're able to train our AIs with this footage, which is really, really, really cool. So in terms of cricket, we've got access to 5 years of data, which we have, which we've paid for, which we now have trained all these unique avatars. So we'll be starting with like 16 different sports avatars, all play differently. But then also you can now throw them into the training pit. You can actually train them with new data and then see them as they kind of grow.
I was just going to jump in there to so as a user, as a person coming completely new to this. So this is you're building at the moment, but this is going to be a game that's you can access on desktop and maybe in other forms later. Mobile as well. Cool. So you choose your player, who will be an NFT, I assume, or something that you own.
Yeah.
And then you can begin to train them and develop them and play against other people online. And that will start with cricket, but ultimately this is going to become a Marvel universe where you can take your sports player to lots of different sports and then play against lots of people. Is that what's happening from a user perspective here? Yeah,
exactly. So the for us, I mean, it's going to be at least 2 years. We focus on cricket first. We've got to get it right. We've got to get the recipe right. But once we have that recipe right, we're already talking to other sports franchises now and all other different sports, and how we can use the same advanced tech stack that we've developed and use this for other sports. I mean, a lot of people out there are still looking for ways to to enhance fandom, right? So instead of just being a fan in a game and shouting at a coach and watching a game and buying the jersey, we're able to put you in the game. Like we're able to actually take because it's real world data and they're going to play like real world cricketers. Of course, with like a mix of sci-fi elements. Again, when I say Marvel, it's because we also want to break down like the cultural barriers of cricket. Like cricket is very focused on the Commonwealth areas, which we will be focused on first, of course. And we want to pay homage to the historic and be sensitive to the history of cricket and respectful. But we want to open it up for the world. We really want to kind of create new characters. Like, I'm in Copenhagen right now, and I keep telling to people when I'm on the calls with them, I want to create a Viking cricket player who comes out with like a battle axe, right? But that battle axe turns into this bat, right? And so if you're in the UK, you think about like the stories of, Excalibur and King Arthur, and how you can tie lore now and history into different players, all different cultures. You'll have a samurai player with a samurai katana, and he can perform some samurai moves, right? However, it's going to still be cricket. The rules of cricket are there. The respect for the game is there, and the respect for the cultures who started it. But we want to add more to it. We want to add this kind of sci-fi, open world, massive storytelling element. I think story is absolutely key for this. Again, because we want to, and this might sound crazy, but I want, kids in the streets of New York and kids in the streets of Mumbai, kids in the streets of London, around the world, to actually look at our players and really emotionally connect with them and pretend to be them out in the street when they're playing one.
Interesting. You mentioned you were calling this the Fortnite of Sport, which is probably a good analogy. So it's a kind of yet fully gamified way of as Fortnite, has a continually evolving story, and you're coming back to it over and over again because things are changing. There's new seasons and stuff like that. You're kind of creating the sport version of that here. Does that sort of sound accurate? Is that kind of what you're going for, and what it's gonna become?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Fortnite of Sport analogy is really about that creator economy, and it's about that customization, right? Like what Fortnite has done so brilliantly is open up the tool set and giving that back to the players. So they are creating the mini games, they're creating it. But you can take that one step further now, especially using AI as well, like generative AI. You can take that for players to customize their own jerseys, make their own bats, right? So create assets within the game, as well as also creating game modes, tournaments, season structures, one-on-one play, you name it. There's all this ability now. And Fortnite, they saw exponential growth once they kind of opened that up, that tool set up, and went, hey, Fortnite creative first. And now we talked about, Fortnite Unreal Editor, right? Like the UEN editor for Fortnite, which is absolutely like next level now. We're going to see, you're unleashing creativity upon your users, which is great because now they're going to build alongside you with you, and they're going to have crazier ideas than we ever had. So I totally love that way.
And the gameplay itself, so is it where you are controlling the players and playing the sport like a la FIFA type game, or is it more of a kind of management fantasy style game? And does it have any connection to the real world, or are your players completely separate and you're training them and growing their attributes as you play?
Yeah, we're exploring partnerships now where it does have a connection with the real world, which is really exciting. But to answer your question about gameplay, there's going to be different game modes. We're focused on the casual gamer first, where you come in, you get an avatar. And we're also going with a freemium model to start with. We want everybody to be able to come in, accessible, play the game, have fun, see what it is about. And then, of course, as we progress the game, we're going to, add microtransactions. You're going to end up owning your character and being able to own your character, own the assets. But what learning from what we've done at Zed Run as well is we want to start in Web 2 and take a journey into Web 3, and not start in Web 3 and try to pull you in, if that makes sense. So meeting you where you are now, mobile friendly, freemium model, accessible, has to be fun, really strong core game loop in the beginning, and then we can build on that, and then we can also build and educate our users on the way into that digital asset ownership space, which I think is super important. In terms of, there'll be different ways where you can prepare your player, throw them in a game and just watch. But there will also be real-time interactions where you're coaching live and also having a say. So things like throwing down a power ping, which is a card that can affect the balance of the game in the moment. So if you're familiar with cricket, you play overs, and you might throw down a card that says, hey, my wickets disappear for this over, so I cannot get out, right? But strategically, it's like a game of, rock, paper, scissors, or a game of Uno, where when do you use your +4 card and when don't you, right? And so you have a set number of cards that you can use along the way. On top of that, you can also change the accessories as the game progresses, right? So if I need to bring out, like in cricket, there was a notorious bat called the mongoose bat, which was a really heavy hitter. I think it's illegal now, but back in the 80s, it wasn't, right? If you brought that bat out, only a few cricketers could use this bat. But for me, when I see that and we're depicted in movies, that's like me bringing out Excalibur or bringing out that battle axe to field, and then it changes the game, right? But then you can counter it as the bowler by bringing out the magic ball of Thor, right? The thunderbolt or whatever, right? And when you're bowling against the bat. So again, it's staying cricket first, but it's adding all these like assets to it and all these stories to it, which I really feel like is going to open this game to the world.
Yeah, interesting. It sounds to me like Uno plus Brian Lara cricket plus Fortnite, which sounds a pretty good combination. And we should...
I love it. Yeah.
That might not be accurate, but that's what it sounds like to me, which is good.
Drawing some Batman and Spider-Man, then we're good.
Yeah, nice. We should mention, we're talking about cricket here, and there's a lot of people in the US, and I'm not hugely familiar. I mean, I know cricket a little bit, but we should say it's, I think, the second biggest sport in the world, right after soccer. Is that accurate?
Absolutely. 2.5 billion fans. Yeah, but they're very geolocated, right? But again, there's a lot of expats around the world who play it. I mean, I'm in Copenhagen, and there's a cricket club just up the road with a lot of Indians and Pakistanis. And so it's very Commonwealth-based. It's India, it's South Asia, so Sri Lanka, Pakistan, it's, South Africa, it's UK, of course, Australia, New Zealand, West Indies, right? That's really like the core of the fandom. And that's the challenge, or That's the goal, is to not just make it that core, because cricket is actually a really fun game. The IPL 2020 is action-packed. It's full of energy. Fans go crazy. We could take this to the next level, right? And it's, if you want an analogy as well, it's kind of like, you know, I'm wearing a Lakers shirt. I like basketball. Basketball has cool. It's got swagger, right? And I challenge the team always to go like, how can we make cricket cool like basketball? How can we bring in some of that Western culture flavor where they do handshakes, do dances, right? Which Fortnite does amazingly, right? So that's where that reference point comes in. Like, there's a new TikTok dance. A week later, Fortnite's got it, right? And sometimes it's Fortnite's got a dance and then TikTok's got it, right? It kind of goes both ways. And so bringing that kind of, you know, real world trends into it is important. And then just, breaking down the barriers. Like, the focus is India and South Asia and those Commonwealth countries. But we really want America to embrace it as well, along with South America and the rest of the world.
Okay, nice. Yeah. All right, I've got two more questions and then we'll jump into the news stories. The first one being, there's been so much kind of experimentation, good and bad, around you know, Web3 gaming and the economies and how they work and stuff. It feels a lot like the next wave is going to be gaming based. Also, we've seen in this bear market that, you know, obviously people want to play games regardless or not of the market dynamics and stuff like that, which is good. So this stuff is maturing. What kind of did you learn maybe from Zed Run, or when you look at sort of the economy side of this, what do you want to do differently maybe, or what are you taking to this that will be accessible to everybody that is going to create a sustainable kind of ownership sort of economy here?
Yeah, great question, and very valid. I mean, in Zed Run, I mean, we started back in 2018. You know, this was before its time, and we were really focused on the ownership aspect, right? So being focused on that, we're trying to, like I said, we're Web3. We're trying to bring everybody on board this Web3 shit. Like, hey, come here, you can own stuff. It's cool, which is great. And you know, at its peak, of course, it flourished. But what we're seeing now is that people just want to have fun, right? So it has to be fun first. It has to be entertainment first, and that's really what the ethos of Behaviol is. I mean, Behaviol is the tech company, the underlying tech stack. If you do some research on the team, they're savvy entrepreneurs, very successful in the technology business and technology industry, which is super cool. But building on top of that platform now in the entertainment layer has to be on fun first. So I have a metric, or there's a metric out there what we call time to fun, right? Sorry if you can nip the kids in the background.
That's so good. Having fun, yeah.
Yeah. They're having fun. Time to fun. But yeah, so time to fun is absolutely important. People getting in and then coming in and then just enjoying the game. And then it's a strong game loop that makes them want to come back. A good progression system where, you know, again, Fortnite does this beautifully, Call of Duty, a progression system where you actually fall in love with the journey and not the result. So when you're in playing, you get delighted, you get rewards, you get rewarded for your participation. It's action packed. You have utility. You engage with your avatar. I mean, using AI, we're looking at having the AI actually be able to text you and tweet you and go, "Hey, I see this guy's on the scoreboard. I know I can beat him," right? So creating these kind of living, breathing entities is really, or the illusion of, is really a focus on that extra layer of entertainment. But yeah, time to fun, and then accessibility. Like, we are going free to play to start with. We want people to come in and just have fun. And then, of course, we're doing it on mobile to start with, mobile and desktop. But then we're also looking, I mean, you've talked about the Apple Vision Pro, but we're also setting ourselves up for like that side of things as well, because we believe we're going to be here for a while. You know, the Apple Vision Pro is going to take some time before it comes off. I can't wait to see what Meta bring out, Google and all those, you know, what's next when the competition heats up and when masses can, you know, afford these items. I don't know. Are you going to buy an Apple Vision Pro?
Oh man, I've been thinking about it. I think no, just because I'd love to, but it's obviously loads of money. But it reminds me a lot of the kind of iPhone 1 and 2, and then it was the 3G really that really went. And yeah, I would love to, but
yeah, give it a little wait, I reckon too. But it's signaling a time of a change, right? Where we're going from mobile to spatial, right? Which I think is really, really exciting. Unless again now Elon Musk, if we want to talk about him, he beats us with the Neuralinks. That's another story. So yeah, anyway, so it's time to fun. I mean, I've learned a lot from Zed Run, accessibility, fun, and then of course rewarding our users and playing and just building with that in mind. So
nice. Yeah. All right. And the final question on this project is how far are you through at the moment? When can people start to experience this? And we'll obviously play some cool footage of stuff you've got at the moment. But yeah, how long do you reckon it'll be until we can kind of get our hands on this and start having to go?
So we've got tentatively, we've got some gamified viewing is our first step, which is we're doing some beta testing at the moment, which is great, closed betas, getting feedback loop and getting all the, iterating, but it's going to be an iterative process all the way through, right? What we're looking at is in the next, I don't really want to give dates, but I'll just say between 8 and 12 weeks, right? There's going to be a gamified viewing launch where you could come in and actually experience these two AI players playing each other. We're going to have games running within segments, windows. We're going to actually have a seasonal approach to this, opening and shutting, just so we can release, take feedback, come back, release, take feedback, come back, and iterate, as we also add new characters, new animations, and new updates. We really want to build alongside the community and hear what they have to say once they've experienced the product. But in this product, you're going to be able to have, and I call it gamified viewing, is because you're going to be able to then predict outcomes of the game. You're going to be watching these avatars, and you're going to be using your knowledge from watching them to actually predict some set questions, which then will give you a return in Omni points. These Omni points are now pegged to your account, which later on, and say, I'll give you, again, I'm going to give it a bit wide open, 6 to 8 months. When we get to the digital asset ownership, when you can own one of these avatars finally, and train them and play them, then you'll have stacked up some Omni points, which you now can use in-game. This is an in-game currency. It's not a token. We're not going that route yet. Like I said, we're going to take you on a Web 2 to 2.5 journey all the way. And then once we're ready and feel like there's appetite for it, we have permission for it through our users, then we're going to move into to fully looking at tokenized ecosystems and such. But there's still a lot of work to be done there.
Yeah, for sure. No, that sounds a smart approach. Definitely. It's interesting watching Nike and Swoosh. We talk about a lot where they're kind of releasing NFTs, but they're soul bound and stuff's within Fortnite. And that seems to be this gradual kind of way in, doesn't it? Very cool. Okay, good stuff. Well, we'll leave all the links in the show notes. Let's roll on some of these stories from the week, because everybody's talking about this first one, which is just like every week something mad happens that you're like, yeah, well, surely we've seen everything now. And then just like, no, here's another insane thing. So Mark Zuckerberg announced that they are planning to release some sort of Twitter competitor, basically, was the gist of it. And then it started going off on Twitter between Elon and Zuck, and has ended up with basically them agreeing to have some sort of cage fight. Zuckerberg is going by the Murph because he recently did the Murph challenge, which I don't think it's SAS, but it's something super high end that you have to complete that 99% of people don't. And he did it in a record speed, which was made up of a 1 mile run, 100 pull-ups, 200 press-ups, and 300 squats. He is stacked and looking good. Elon is calling himself the Walrus because he tweeted that he has this great move called the Walrus where he will just lie on top of his opponent and do nothing. Yeah, I really hope that this happens. I've got a little graphic as well that kind of squares them up. But if you were placing your bets, Chris, who are you backing in the cage fight?
I mean, it's really an interesting one. I think we should make a movie out of this. But I'm gonna have to go with the combat trained guy. If you've got professional combat training, if I'm putting money on it, I'm going with the Mark. But never count Elon out. He's won bigger fights before, really, right? He's they've got clinically approval for doing their neural links on humans now, right? So
yeah, well, this was my point. He might have already Neuralinked himself and have some sort of crazy heightened superpower. This is their matchup. This is from a newspaper in the UK. Zuck is 39 years old against Elon, 51. Zuck is 5'7" and Elon 6'2", which I didn't know, so probably bigger reach there. Zuck coming in at 149 pounds. Elon has not disclosed his weight, but his net worth, 233 billion versus a measly 100 billion from Zuck.
So he wins there, for sure.
Yeah, so he wins there.
Well, I'm pretty sure he wins on the weight as well, right?
Probably, yeah. Well, that's probably why he hasn't disclosed it. But yeah, I feel like Elon might be the kind of guy who just gets battered but can take so much punishment because he sleeps on the floor in his office the whole time that he'll just swing back with a couple of massive right-handers and then that'll be it. It'll be over. Or wrestle him to the ground. But hey, we'll see. I hope it happens. We'll see what goes down.
It reminds me of the early days of UFC K1 where they actually, where Royce Gracie, a small jiu-jitsu master would go up against like a big 7-foot sumo, right? And he'd still win, right? Because he would grapple his way there to victory. He'd just be strategic. So, yeah, I'm going to have to go with Mark. if it's a fair, with no technologies involved.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a crucial little caveat there. But yeah, my UFC knowledge isn't so great, but I think that changes everything. Anyway, it'll be interesting. I doubt it will happen, but I really hope it does. Also on the Elon theme, the next story, this is quite wild, is that a hacker goes by the name of @Green the Only, who often tests the Tesla software. He doesn't work for them, but he tries to kind of hack it. He seems to have unlocked some sort of feature that is buried deep in the code called Elon Mode in Tesla vehicles, which essentially gives them almost full self-driving mode. So he's posted a video where he's been able to kind of drive with no monitoring. I think at the moment that there are these features that are in like beta that you can download and test in your Tesla, but it constantly kind of nags you to hold the steering wheel to make sure that you're still there and still in control. But this guy seems to have kind of hacked that, and he's made a video showing that it's driving itself. Interesting story. I don't know what there is to kind of say about this other than this is all coming pretty quickly. You're a successful tech man, Chris. Do you have a Tesla? I feel like maybe you would.
I actually don't have a Tesla.
No.
We actually have a French Citroën, which is fully electric.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Citroën, but yeah, I know there's a lot of Teslas here in Copenhagen, but we went with the French version.
Yeah, that's good.
They're fun, but it's not self-driving. It's not trying to self-drive itself. I don't know if I trust that yet, to be honest. But having said that, they already have taxi services in America that do that, right? They come and pick you up in an autonomous vehicle.
Is that happening already? Yeah, that is. I have not seen them. No.
Yeah. I've seen people get picked up by these cars where it's just a self-driving steering wheel. There's cameras everywhere. I'll shoot you a link. I mean, it's happening. It's happening, and I just don't want to be the guinea pig, right?
Well, this is it. We're talking about the Apple Vision Pro, and like, do you get the first one? It's like, well, no, you probably get the third one. I think it's probably similar for self-driving cars. It's like maybe don't get in the first ones.
Yeah, let the others figure that one out, and then we'll come in when we feel safe enough.
Oh yeah, absolutely, good stuff. Yeah, it's interesting that we'll post a video of this car just driving by itself. So if you see that happening, it might be this guy's hacked it. The last story I want to run through is just, I mean, you sort of. I mean, we notice the speed of all the AI stuff. We talk about it all the time, but you have like a few moments where you take stock and you go, okay, yeah, this is like a little kind of inflection point of something new that's happening. And this is the announcement from the Grammys that they have just set new rules for AI entries, which seemed like a thing that was always coming and probably is now going to expand to all categories of whether it's filmmaking or music or whatever else. So their rules about the involvement of AI, this was posted by Rob Abloh on Twitter. He did a little roundup that songs can win a Grammy if they have AI vocals, AI songwriting, AI instrumentation, but must have proof of meaningful human authorship, whatever that means. I don't know how you prove that really. If the AI sings a song, it can be nominated, but it can't win Best Vocal, even if a human wrote that. Kind of weird. Banned from Grammy nominations, AI only songs with less than 20% human authorship. I don't know how you measure that. And songs written mostly by AI can't win in the songwriting category, but songs performed mostly by AI can win. Very confusing, but it's interesting that we're being forced to see these rules. And you mentioned the Oscars have done something similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, with the academies, I mean, I work in the animation space for a long time before I kind of moved into emerging tech, so like more traditional. But even then, we saw emerging tech, right? Like motion capture was causing a stir up, like in terms of the animated category. Now I believe the rule, you'll have to look me up, but there's a rule where it says, the 80% of the movie has to be hand-keyed animated. So you can reserve 20% for mocap or live action, if you will. But if you want to get into the animated category, then you have to have 80% of it proven to be hand-key animated. So it seems like it's like the trend of emerging technologies doing work for us, and that, I mean, they're creative tools, right? And it's about where do these tool sets fit in, and they're changing the landscape of these categories. So yeah, I mean, it's bound to happen. As far as my regard is, I mean, we're working with digital sports athletes. I really believe that we're going to be in the future kids are going to be looking up to digital athletes, right? They're going to be looking up to these digital entities that live on the blockchain, but are living and breathing and act like real world characters. And I think, we're seeing it with deep fakes in movies, right? Like, yeah, the technology is there now. It's just what are the regulations, what are the rules? Yeah,
it's interesting. I remember this like first happening. So I mentioned this game, Football Manager, which is probably a very UK reference. Soccer if you're in the US. And I bet there was something similar for a lot of people growing up, where it's like a management simulation game, right? So you chose all the players and you chose your kind of coaching style or whatever. But I remember a story, this was years ago when I was growing up, that actual coaches were going on Football Manager to scout players because there was more scouts for the game than there were available for their individual team in real life. So they would go and kind of run simulations on the games and then see which players to maybe go and watch in real life type thing. That was happening years ago. So it is an interesting point about the future of technology in sport, which have always been hand in hand. And we're starting to see a lot of athletes kind of use simulations to train themselves, whether it's like racing drivers and that kind of thing. So it's that wave is all coming, which is where you're sitting with Behaviol, I'm guessing. But yeah, how do you think about that kind of future of tech and sport? It's sort of inevitable, and you said there'll be digital athletes people are going to look up to as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's like Moneyball. Like again, when you follow sports, like I follow basketball as well. It's become very data centric, right? As an example, in basketball, you're allowed to jump, like run down and shoot a 3-pointer now, which is better than going in for a 2-pointer. If you're open for the 3, they want you to shoot because they have the statistics and the data to analyze the game and go, well, that's better. That puts our team in a better position to win, right? So we're seeing the evolution of game go alongside with the evolution of technology, right? If I shot a 3-pointer back in the day when I was playing, I would have been benched and cut from the team, right? Like because that wasn't the thing to do. You had to go in and get as close to the hoop as possible. So yeah, I mean, with that evolution and with this technology, like I said, with deep faking, I mean, with the AI technology, you're able to bring real world athletes into games. But yeah, you're able to bring people and extend their seasons, right? You're able to extend their careers, really. Like we can, in fact, bring, retired legends who are retired now, but bring them back. And we're in fact doing that with Behaviol. We've got Kumar Sangakkara, who's one of the greater cricket players in the world, really. He's the second most points scored ever. He's a Sri Lankan legend. He's one of our co-founders, and we've actually motion captured him. We've recorded his data, and there will be a time in the game where we'll release him into the game where you can play against him or play as him or coach him. And so, he's retired now. He coaches, he's commentary in cricket, but he's able to extend his career in the digital world, right? And I think there's something really exciting about that. And there's also, the opportunity to bring people back to life, right? Like we could perhaps create a boxing simulation where you do have Mike Tyson, who's retired, but have him fight Muhammad Ali. And I know they've done that before, but doing it with this new technology and AI is going to be even more precise, even more entertaining. The ability to actually bring back, Mike Tyson, who's retired, and Muhammad Ali, who is no longer with us, or even further back in line, you could bring old cricket players because we have the footage, we can analyze the data, we can actually train these models to then have these avatars fight and have their characteristics, have their skills, and put them against each other one-on-one. And as the technology advances, we're going to be able to do that even more precisely. So I think that's exciting too, right? Like having your digital self live on forever in this alternate, metaverse, as we would call it, or a parallel universe, digital universe. That's going to happen, and that's going to happen faster than we think.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, sport is such an interesting topic for all of this technology and future of the metaverse stuff. It seems like it's somewhere that can really benefit from it. And, we'll wrap up there, but even looking at things like FIFA Ultimate Team, and there's kind of the icons and their rights are living on and people are playing as them. But this is a step forward because you've actually got their motion capture training data and stuff like that. So you can really have them play as they were playing before rather than just their identity.
Exactly. You can clone them and bring them back to life, quote, air quotations, right? Like into the digital realm. So
simulations of games that we always wanted to see, but we never could. And then suddenly we're watching two sports people play that could never have done it in real life. Crazy.
100%.
Cool, man. Yeah. Well, Chris, thanks so much. That was a lot of fun as always. And good luck with the project. We'll check it out. And you have to come back and tell us about it.
I'd love to. Always a pleasure to talk about what we do. Excited about the space. If anybody wants to know more, reach out. We're here and we're just building, always looking for new exciting things to do. So thanks, buddy. Good luck with everything.
So there we are. Always good to chat to Chris, how all of these new technologies are influencing sport, and also the Web3 gaming side of stuff is getting pretty spicy as well. But this is what we do at Base to keep you up to date on all of this world. So hit subscribe on YouTube or follow on your podcast platform, and see you for the next episode.